Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are both facing major blowback from their own supporters.
What I will do is you graduate from a college, I think you should get automatically as part of your diploma a green card.
More DOGE drama today. It's a daily occurrence now. MAGA is upset with Elon and Vivek over some posts that they've published about immigration policies in America, which have caught some people off guard. We're going to have a look at what happened. We're going to try to see it from both sides, try to have a balanced view on this and look at this calmly. We can go through why people are upset, Trump's stance on this. We're going to look at a proposed solution to all this, which I thought was really good, actually. Let's get into it. This all began when Elon and Vivek started posting about the H-1B visa program. In a nutshell, basically, they believe that it should be expanded to allow the top people in engineering to come to the country to work. And then MAGA was like, wait a second, wasn't the whole campaign about America first? And this conversation kind of went back and forth between MAGA supporters and Elon and Vivek on X, where Elon and Vivek defended their point of view and MAGA disagreed. There were plenty of people who did agree. I also saw coming out of the woodwork a few racist posts, but they were far and few between. It was mainly just between people who felt there's not enough jobs for American people, and that should be the focus, is giving Americans the jobs first. And basically Elon and Vivek were arguing, well, the culture and the education in America hasn't nurtured great workers. The first thing I'll say about this is that their timing is very poor. I think that they've approached this from very much a business mindset, definitely not from a politician's mindset, because if they were being like a typical politician, they would have timed it better, or they would have done the corrupt thing of hiding it from the public and just kind of doing it without anyone realizing. So I'm glad they haven't approached this from like a politician mindset, but they certainly didn't approach this from like a human perspective, and I think that's where they've had their downfall. America has just come out of an election where the MAGA campaign was heavily focused on anti-immigration. Now, given it was anti-illegal immigration, that was a key factor. But it's very fresh on the minds of people right now, anti-immigration and pro-Americans first. So it's poor timing, because if they kind of stuck with things that are directly beneficial to American people for now, focusing on those downfalls that have led them to think about looking elsewhere for workers, for example, education and culture, if they'd made that more of a priority for themselves and, for example, keeping their focus on cutting spending, cutting the debt and all of that, I think that people would have been much more receptive down the line to them then saying illegal immigration numbers have completely dropped, you know, we've cleared out all of the criminals, and now let's look at bringing in some really great legal immigrants. The funny thing about it is that Trump has actually said throughout his campaign that he wants this. He's never been opposed to legal immigration. This was one of his campaign videos where he outlined his policies.
It's so sad when we lose people from Harvard, MIT, from the greatest schools and lesser schools that are phenomenal schools also. And what I wanted to do, and I would have done this, but then we had to solve the COVID problem because that came in and, you know, sort of dominated for a little while, as you perhaps know. But what I want to do and what I will do is you graduate from a college, I think you should get automatically as part of your diploma a green card to be able to stay in this country. And that includes junior colleges too. Anybody graduates from a college, you go in there for 2 years or 4 years. If you graduate or you get a doctorate degree from a college, you should be able to stay in this country. And you know more stories than I do, but I know of stories where people graduated from a top college or from a college and they desperately wanted to stay here. They had a plan for a company, a concept, and they can't. They go back to India, they go back to China, they do the same basic company in those places, and they become multi-billionaires employing thousands and thousands of people, and it could have been done here. And a bigger example is you need a pool of people to work for your companies. You have great companies, and they have to be smart people. Not everybody can be less than smart. You need brilliant people. And we force the brilliant people, the people that graduate from college, the people that are number one in their class from the best colleges, you have to be able to recruit these people and keep the people. It was such a big deal. Somebody graduates at the top of the class. They can't even make a deal with the company because they don't think they're going to be able to stay in the country. That is going to end on day one.
I think one of the problems is that Elon and Vivek have been very, very kind of like blunt about something that they think should be done, and then they haven't really covered all of the grey area around that. Like, there's an awful lot of smaller things that can upset people that need to be considered in that. At the root of it, people are probably upset with the choice of their priorities there. Somebody pointed out, like, this is a good solution for short term, but it's not a good solution long term. Long term, you'd like to be making the American education system and the American culture one that supports the top level workers actually existing in America. They're pointing out a short-term solution to something and then not thinking about the fact that people actually might be quite concerned about the long-term solution being addressed first, or at least alongside the short-term solution. So personally, I think if they were to come out and say, well, yeah, of course we need to work on education too, and we need to work on the culture, and we need to help American people for this to work out long term. And I think that's one of the main reasons why people are upset at the root of it all. The other thing for me was, it really struck me this kind of employer-employee dynamic that seems to be going on with it. To me, Elon and Vivek are very much coming to this from an employer's point of view, and MAGA is coming at it from an employee's point of view. The thing that I think is so fantastic about this is that this conversation is happening at all. Like, I don't know if anything like this has ever happened before, where you have people who have influence in the government and they're being very transparent with the public about what their intentions are. It was actually inevitable that there would be disagreement like this, that there would be opposition, because they're being so transparent and because they're talking with the public. It was inevitable that this was going to happen. And of course, the media is running with it and kind of, enjoying the fact that, there's arguments, they're blowing up, it's all falling apart. But this is part of what happens if you decide to have complete transparency in the government. Sometimes people are going to be looking on, applauding, going, yes, you got involved with the bill and you cut the bill, great. There's other times where people are going to go, no way, I don't like this. So I do think that this is really, really great that the conversation's happening. And Elon and Vivek, they're posting back and they're explaining themselves, they're defending themselves. The fact that they actually are willing to defend their point of view. Usually in politics, this stuff is just happening. The public doesn't have any say, and politicians don't defend themselves, and the media doesn't hold them accountable. So I think it's great. And I think it's great that the argument is happening. Also, even a few days ago, there was in the media a lot of people kind of saying, MAGA supporters will just go along with anything that Elon says. He's got this incredible power now where they'll just follow him like sheep. And we knew that wasn't true. And we can see that here. It's not true. DOGE is technically, it's an advisory committee. And that's all that Elon and Vivek can really do, is they can advise the public and they can advise Trump, and in the end Trump will make the decision, and the public is being brought into the conversation to at least be able to voice their concerns or their support, etc. But of course, the people who are looking at this from the employee perspective are seeing that, I've been suffering for years. I feel the effects of the economy. I feel the effects of the immigration policies. I'm desperate for it to end at this point. And now I'm feeling like those people are not understanding that anymore. They're thinking about their wages. They're thinking about their opportunities. They're also thinking about their work-life balance. A lot of MAGA was pro-family, and they were running on, especially J.D. Vance was running on, we need to do more for families.
I want us as a Republican Party to be pro-family in the fullest sense of the word.
And help people to have families. But that's not just money. That also means time for family. And we're seeing one of the problems of successful businessmen coming into politics because they're looking at it from the perspective of successful businessmen, and they're not necessarily able to understand the perspective of an average person who doesn't want to work 90 plus hours a week, who may not care that much about that and may actually have priorities elsewhere, more in like family, community, hobbies, whatever. And so I think that they're probably not understanding that. For clarity, MAGA really has run on not anti-immigration as they often get labeled as. They're not anti-immigration. Trump has always been anti-illegal immigrants, right? So it is a funny thing to see that people are getting this upset over legal immigration, but I really think it's a timing thing and also just a feeling of priorities being wrong. Overall, I think DOGE's plan at the moment, and probably the plan of the Trump administration, is we're against illegal immigration. We want to really, really go strong on that, but we want to be overall more smart about immigration in America. The way they approached it was not calculated and maybe a bit insensitive, but I do like that it wasn't calculated because, as I said earlier, politicians tend to be very calculated, and I'd rather have them mess up and say something to upset people than just say everything right because it's what you want to hear, if you know what I mean. So at least they're willing to tell you what you don't want to hear, talk about it with people, defend their point, engage in discussions. That is a brilliant, brilliant, amazing thing to be happening, and hopefully we encourage it. Hopefully it continues that way. And in the end, I just want to highlight the solution that I saw somebody suggest, which to me, look, I'm no expert in in this field, but I'm going to read this out to you and let me know what you guys think of this. Anyone who is in the H-1B program has to be paid on an hourly non-exempt basis according to all wage and hour laws. That way, the system can't be gamed to import some smart poor kid from a poor country so they can work 80-hour weeks at entry-level salaried wages. Currently, there is a definite profit opportunity in utilising the H-1B. Remove it. I hate taxes, but sometimes taxes do the right thing. Assume all taxes are based on assumptions that by hiring H-1B, the employer is displacing a qualified citizen worker. The employer should pay a tax equivalent to that H-1B's W-2 wages annually as long as they are in the H-1B. This way again, employers will only use the program when necessary due to the high cost. If these imports are truly as talented and unique as they say, then the value they generate should still far outweigh this additional cost. Both of these constraints will remove the profit component of importing high-skilled labor in order to leverage their situation and thereby take jobs away from Americans. And someone commented all this and put a cap on the percentage by employee volume that can be foreigners in any one organization. So I think that's a brilliant solution. I hope that gets echoed somewhere. It hasn't gotten a lot of traction on X yet. I'll share the link in the description just in case you want to share it on your page. So yeah, let me know what you think about all this. And as I always say, please do share your opinion. I think it's really important, and there's something really good happening here with everybody actually getting to talk about this, go back and forth on this, and get some level of transparency from the people who are influencing what happens in the government. So yeah, thanks very much, and I'll see you next time.